Multi-generational. My grandmother had FASD, my mother had FASD, and I most likely also have FASD. Since alcohol has existed, FASD has existed. We come from all walks of life, all cultures, all ages. We have much potential and many gifts. Come walk with me a while and see my voice. Debs.
A month in my life. This is my typical monthly calendar as a caregiver for FASD children. So over and above the normal daily responsibilities, such as a job, chores, errands, after-school activities, and other household duties, I have more to fit in there. So no, I don't have time to sit and see what's new on Oprah, and yes, I do need help. Bonnie.
Pieces. Don't you hate working on a puzzle, only to find there are pieces missing? Yet our children find wholeness in the midst of missing crucial skills. Sequential thinking. Getting dressed. What goes on first? Cause and consequence. Put the bike in the shed because it could be stolen. Difficulty problem solving. Can't see a toy. It's gone forever, to name a few. We are their voice. Caregivers, teachers, and friends fill in the gaps, the missing parts. We all together complete the picture. But we have to do this carefully. Just as we don't force a puzzle piece to fit in where it doesn't belong, we should not force our children to learn harder, but enable them to learn differently. If I've told my child something 1,000 times and he still doesn't get it, who is the slow learner? Him or me? Cece.
Brick wall. Parenting children with FASD sometimes feels like banging your head against a brick wall. I've learned how to walk around instead of trying to break the wall or my child's spirit. Debs.
In the driver's seat. This is what my life felt like parenting children with FASD. Going 100 kilometers an hour all the time, running out of gas, veering off course, with no police around, no gas station, and no rest area. Just a long, lonely road ahead, so please don't assume we have everything under control. Bonnie.
A tree needs support to survive. My child was born with FASD. He needed support to grow and develop into a strong young man. This is what this tree symbolizes to me. He and I growing together, interlinked. My son needs support close to him, to help guide him and provide monitoring throughout his life. He needs an external brain to always be in the background and alongside him. With this, he will succeed. I do this for him every day. Rhonda.
Constant change. The water brings in different things every day, from garbage to treasure. You have to sort through it and find out what is treasure to you and what is garbage. Not only is the water bringing things in, but it is always coming in at a different rate. From softly lapping against the sand to crashing into it and changing the sand's form. Every day is a constant challenge to figure out my child's needs in each particular moment. I never know how he's going to react. I never know what I'll be dealing with, a lion or a lamb. Diana. Overflow. The eaves were filled with muck, leaves, and branches, rotting there, like the guilt that eats away at me. And when it rained really hard, the water couldn't flow properly down the drain. It overflowed in just the same way the guilt, anger, and sadness have been overflowing out of me. Crying brings the release of emotions and the hope of healing, and forgiving myself because it's still hard to say out loud. Admit I know that my son has FASD because I know it's my fault. I am living with what I have done to my child. It confronts me every day in his behaviors, his intense emotions, and his frustrations with himself. When people look at me, Will they see a mother who loves her child or a woman who did this to her child? Will my child forgive me? I look at the water falling in this picture and it's beautiful, but there's a feeling of hope mixed with fear of the unknown too. Diana.
Living on the edge. As a caregiver, I am always on the edge. My life as an FASD parent is about living in a danger zone. Sometimes I am fearful that my world will come crashing down on me. My life is fragile, and anything can happen. There are great risks we take as caregivers, and a great source of unpredictability. Life is a balancing act. Rhonda.
Gifts from my son. Had it not been for my child with FASD, I would not have learned how to create safe spaces in a chaotic world, use imagination without limits, dream without boundaries. Anything is possible. And he wrapped all these gifts up in his unconditional love. CC.
Free to be me. I observed this feather as it gently floated to and fro in the sky. I waited for a long time as this feather did as it pleased. I saw such freedom in this feather. It reminded me of my son and how hard it can be to accept him for who he is and to balance that with structure and rules of society. I feel conflicted about having to change him to be accepted by society or to let him be him. Rhonda.
No photo. What is a typical person with FASD like? There is no poster child for FASD. Each individual is affected to a different severity with different characteristics. That's why cookie-cutter solutions don't work. There is no standard. Perspectives from the whole group.
First glance. There's more to this picture than the first glance. When the flowers first stand out, then the sky, then the dark area. Your attention may first be drawn to the child's behavior. Then you notice the differences in the child to other children's. Then you notice the child, him, herself, for who they are. At least you hope other people will have enough patience, understanding to go that far than just the surface behaviors or appearance with your child. My child doesn't or won't have FASD stamped on his forehead, but people will see him as different and treat him so. Being a child, people so far have understood and accepted him. But when he grows up, I think people will wonder why he doesn't know better or why he doesn't try harder when he's been trying so hard already. As an adult, he won't be given credit for what he's achieved, but put down for what he hasn't. Diana.
Flower from a rock. As a parent whose children have FASD, I see this flower as the children, and the rock as the hostile environment that society has made for them, yet somehow they grow and flourish. This is a symbol of their success. Bonnie.
Accomplishment. What you see are a pair of shoes thrown down in haste. My child has forgotten the warnings that he will cut his bare feet. He only thinks of playing. He is 10.5 years old, and he has just only learned to tie his shoes. Up until now, it was Velcro all the way, and that was fine with me. I never put any pressure on him. I knew he would learn to tie them in his own time, just like he'll learn to do everything in his own time. His accomplishments may seem few and far between, but he works hard for them, and I'm very proud of him. Diana.
Brilliance in the midst. I see a violin sitting alone in all its majestic beauty. I see the shadow of a child leaning towards the musical instrument. I took this picture because it had great significance for me. My son, who has FASD and struggles with memory and in many other areas of his life, was given this gift by the Creator. He plays the fiddle with such grace and beauty, it is a joy to behold. Rhonda. Waiting for the flower to arrive. Maybe twice a year, the hibiscus plant blooms a large, vibrant, and amazing flower. It blooms fully for one day, and then it shrivels and dies off, falling to the floor. When I and my 2 boys wait in anticipation for the flower, it reminds me of what life is like as an FASD parent. Life is full of its ups and downs, and then one day, when you least expect it, the child will show you something very special. Sometimes it will be their ability to remember something very important, and sometimes it will be their ability to walk away from a fight, make a good choice, tell the truth, or other remarkable thing. Rhonda.
Perspective. It's like I'm trying to understand him the best way I can, trying to put myself in his plane, but I have my own to fly. I can't fly his plane any more than I can live his life for him. I can only help guide him to a safe landing. We have such different perspectives on FASD. He's living with it, and I'm just along for the ride. Diana.
Hidden disability. You would not expect the child who occupies this wheelchair to run like everyone else. Why is my child expected to behave and learn like everyone else? Debs.
The fire pit. As a caregiver for FASD children, I learned that just because you provide all the tools necessary to accomplish a task doesn't mean it's going to turn out the way you expected. You may have wanted a fire and brought all the necessary fuel, but only got smoke. I want society to acknowledge the work that went into making the smoke. Bonnie.
Safety and belonging. My biggest fear is that a lifetime of misunderstanding by society will assist my child in making prison his home, the only place he will be safe and understood. Debs.
The world of FASD. You don't have to leave the country to be in a different world. Although most people think of Canada as being a very developed country, FASD is a serious issue for us. It's just one that doesn't get the right attention. Why can't we have people gathering together, supporting each other like we do for some other issues? It's not a question of ignorance. It's an issue of denial. Research plus education plus advocacy equals understanding and hope. CC. Access and support. This ramp provides access to a building, and once the person is inside, you don't take the ramp away. It will be used over and over and over. FASD is the same. It requires lifelong supports, not just short-term solutions that will be removed. Although everyone is looking for a straightforward answer, meeting the unique needs of each child growing into adulthood is more like navigating a maze. The end of this particular ramp ends in shadow, representing the unknown. What does the future look like for my child? For me? CC.
Coping with crisis. Caring for a loved one with FASD can be overwhelming, and I want to hit the panic button. Sometimes respite care is available, and someone will look after my kids for a few days. But when I return, even from that small disruption in their routine, it takes a week to get them back on track. What I find helps the most is having a few key people in my life I can call on for support. We have a family support group in our town, and the facilitator is like my fire truck. Her support when I need help is invaluable. Perspectives from the whole group.
Learning environment. Living with FASD means my daughter is very easily distracted and has difficulty concentrating in school. Helping her to learn does not require a $1 million solution. A clean desk and an uncluttered classroom make a world of difference. The more people who understand our children's situation and who are able to take their needs into account, the better our children's chances of success. Perspectives from the whole group.
Diagnosis, a bridge or barrier. Getting a diagnosis of FASD can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can help link people into supports that make living with FASD easier. On the other hand, it can become a negative label, representing shame, guilt, and fear. We need to make getting a diagnosis easier. Not only do we need more diagnostic services, around here it's a 2 to 3 year waiting list, we need to create a more accepting environment where people can feel comfortable to come forward for help. Perspectives from the whole group.
The gathering. Being a parent for someone with FASD is very lonely. We hope that this photo exhibit has helped you to understand our lives and the lives of our children with FASD a little better. Hope you enjoyed our walk together. We're glad that you came.